Everybody, it's Anthony Brogdon, your main man on Strong Inspirations, where I give it to you straight, no chaser, through the guests that come on this show. We are jamming at Strong Inspirations, everybody. I really like doing this. This is my mission. This is my movement. This is my premise because I like Black history. And in particular, you've heard me coin the phrase good Black history, where whatever the story is, we're going to find something in there to say of the resilience of the people that were affected, the tenacity. We are covering a lot of different topics, and you really gonna like what we got on the show today, man. This is a smooth brother. Let me tell you somebody. Now I'm in Detroit. And, oh shucks, oh man, I messed up. I'm Anthony Brogdon. I forgot to say that. I'm excited so much so. Anthony Brogdon, everybody, and so let me go back to my point. So this guy here on the show today, I've been watching him. He be around town. Like I said, I'm out of Detroit and he's in Detroit. And he what he does is musical. And that's what we're gonna talk about today. And so about a month or so ago, I and another lady, we had an event where it was a musical performance by some people here in Detroit. I invited him to come, and my man showed up. Now, he didn't show up with his instrument because, I mean, you know, he's a true professional and you got to pay him, right? And I ain't got no problem with that. And I will one day soon when we're going to have something that we can really feature his skill set. But he showed up. He was on time. And what he did was he participated in the program by conducting the libations, which took us to a whole nother level. I got respect for this guy for sure. And I like it that he is taking time to come on the show. So everybody hit the subscribe button on Strong Inspirations. It don't cost nothing. Hit the like button on this video because you're going to really like it. You're going to be entertained in some respects. You're going to be enlightened in a lot of respects. Hit the notifications bell for when the videos come up. You get a ding, a shock, smoke signal, your lights flicker, something, the horn on your car. One guy said the horn on his car went off to let people know, let you know that there is new content. And there's new content on Strong Inspirations often because I've added another component where we do a live show every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you are more than welcome to join us, join in as we have various topics for the show. And each week there's a different topic and we find people to help move that topic along. And we invite the general public to join us, all with good, heartfelt, warm, conscious comments. And I want to keep that in mind. Or we'll mute you. We don't need no foolishness. How about that, everybody? Because we're in a foolish era in our society now. A couple more things. You've watched some of the other videos I got up here where we talk about healthy eating. We talk about, watch that one. And those segment of videos. We got one where we interviewed a lady who found out her great-grandfather, when he was enslaved, there's got to be a couple greats. He played the violin, a piccolo or something, played an instrument on the plantation. And that musical talent has resonated through her family. And she's an artist herself. Look for that video. And so many more. If you may know, I'm a filmmaker. This is my film, businessintheblack.net. It's streaming on Amazon. This is my book, Black Business Book. It is also on Amazon, but if you want an autographed copy, go to businessintheblack.net. I have a children's book also, They Did It, and that is only available on the website. And they all talk about, in particular, the rise of Black business in America. enslaved Black folks who own businesses. Do that. I'm speaking around the country. Go to my website, find out when I might be coming to your town. You want to come hear me because I got some mind-blowing dialogue for you, my friends. Now, you hear me use this term strong a lot. Strong is my favorite word. I just like what strong stands for, and that is strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And that is my introduction to the strong brother that's on the show today. Come on, man, introduce yourself. Let's get it on. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Peace and blessings to your audience. And I'm Baba Shamari, as I'm known in the community. And I've worked with the community, like you said, with my artistry, but mainly with young folks in the community, teaching them the historical aspects of our culture as an African people.
All right. I like that. But before we do that, well, and I just do it just a tad, I do it with all the guests. Let's talk a little bit about you personally. Just let them get to know you. Where were you born and raised?
I was actually born in Wichita, Kansas. I was raised here in Detroit. My dad was in the Air Force in Kansas, based in Kansas. So
Okay.
when I was about a year old, he shipped me and my sister here to Detroit, and we've lived here all our lives. And later on, my younger brother came
Okay.
along with us. So I've been a native Detroiter since I was 1 year old.
Most people know this, and this is the case here, as I know it. Being a Detroiter, Detroit's predominantly Black. But did you grow up and get to know any white people growing up, or not necessarily any of that kind of connection?
Well, I had a couple of different things happen to me. My educational journey took me to a more diverse community. From kindergarten to sixth grade, it was total Black community. But I was excelling in school in the sixth grade and got a chance to go to a school that was developing at that time called Pelham Middle School. And Pelham Middle School had students, Black students, Mexican students, a few white students, and one or two Middle Eastern students. So we were still the dominant part as Black people in that school, but that was my introduction to dealing with white folks in the educational community.
If you reflect back on it, what was that? What was that dynamic? Did you have a white friend? Did you get to be kind of cool
Yeah, I had a
with them,
couple
that
of
kind of
white
thing?
friends in middle school. I can, in the sense to where they came up in the city too. They, most of the folks from, that I had were from Southwest Detroit. If you know anything about Southwest Detroit, it's a very diverse community. And the people, are just like any other native Detroiters.
Okay,
They hard, you know.
all right, I got you.
They might have been white, but they ain't punking out on you. You know what I'm saying?
I got you. I got
Uh,
you.
they weren't rich.
Right,
They,
right.
they they were basically, the same income level as most of us in the school, and some of them probably even poorer.
Okay.
So I mean, that was my experience here in Detroit. I ended up leaving Detroit when I went to college. I went to college at Michigan State University, and that was a whole different dynamic
Yeah. Oh,
when it
sure.
comes to our European brethren.
Going back to the early before Michigan State, did you know Black history? Did they tell you any Black history? Which
Well,
kind of led you to who you are today, so to speak?
I went to Northern High School, which doesn't exist anymore, except for those of us who are out here that are alumni of the school, and we get together. But um, my introduction to Black history was, of course, in school. Uh, Even in elementary school, Crosman Elementary School had their introduction to Black history, which was marginal, and Pelham, they celebrated Black history and Mexican history and all the other histories of the people that we had in there. But my biggest uh, introduction to, my African culture and my African history actually came after, college.
Oh, did it? Okay. We're gonna go into that, but I want to jump back just a little bit on this, and I ask this of everybody. Do you know where the enslavement? Where's the Southern connection in your family? Do you know any of those stories?
Oh yeah, the Southern connection. I have two connections. On my mother's side, I have Native American blood and African blood, and on my father's side is strictly African blood. And I recently visited one of my cousins who's like 96 or 97 years old, in good health too, because he grows his own food on his own property, and that's what he eats.
Yeah,
And I saw your segment with Malik and Keeney about
yeah,
healthy foods.
right.
This, my cousin has got a healthy mind, healthy body, and he's in his 90s.
Oh,
Um, but you know, that land, that little piece of land of acres that, we own down there came from that experience, came from that slave experience.
what you say down there? Down where? Where is it?
Enterprise, Alabama.
Oh, is that right? Okay, and you've been there, I guess, evidently,
Yeah,
and
I've been there. I
yeah,
visited
yeah,
my cousin a couple of years ago. I check on him as recently as about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We talked,
yeah.
and he was asking me about what me and my sister wanted to do with our property, and we talked about him growing his food and what he had already harvested and ate and all that other stuff.
Right. Is there any strife in the family being in enterprise? The KKK came through. Any of those kind of stories that you may know
Well,
of?
I haven't been told by my cousins about any of those kinds of stories. His sister is still living, and she's in her upper 80s. She's probably 91 now because I've been visited her 2 or 3 years ago, and she was like 80, 89. So she's got to be in her 90s now.
Right.
But no, I haven't experienced those kinds of things in Alabama. I have had some experiences in life, though,
Okay.
with
Okay.
those kinds of things, especially in such southern states like Florida, Mississippi, and places like that. They were tenuous, but we have a way as Black people that we know that when we're in a certain situation, there's a certain way that we're going to act if we're going to get out of those situations without, having any law enforcement encounters or any, real big.
Do you mind sharing one of the stories? That's pretty interesting.
Well, I mean, it's the same story you always get, where you might get pulled over by, one of the officers, and they're European officers, and one of them is kind of laid back, and the other one is very aggressive in how they're speaking to you and what they're telling you to do, and most of it is just accusations that you might have done something wrong.
Right.
So a lot of times I just, in those situations, I just keep things straight.
I got you. I got you.
When I left college, I got a job with the city of Detroit, animal control, and that's a law enforcement type of thing that I was doing. I ended up retiring as an investigator, which is, it's basically police business, police. So a lot of times I, in those situations, I just know how to handle it. I never
I
try
got you.
to say, "Hey, I'm in your business." I don't even do that because if you're running into the wrong type of individual, none of that matters.
Yeah, I got you. What led you to be who you are though? Because for lack of a better way, let's call it an Afrocentric kind of guy. Am I
Yeah,
right about that? Is that what we
that's
might call it? Well, what would
yeah,
you
that's
call
true.
it?
That's true. I traveled the road that, some of my, contemporary brothers that I'm very close to. I know you did an interview with Kafense, and that's one of my brothers. As a matter of fact, my my last marriage, he was one of the best men in that event. And I traveled that road where I was a member of, the Shrine of the Black Madonna. That's where I got my first African name, which I I introduced myself as Shamari. And I enrolled my children in the first public African-centered schools here in Detroit. They developed three of them. One of them was Malcolm X Academy. The other one was Paul Robeson Academy, and my children were enrolled in Marcus Garvey Academy. And through my involvement as a parent in Marcus Garvey Academy, my consciousness rose from probably about 25 to 35% to over 1,000% in terms of what my interests were and what my study habits would be and what my consciousness level would raise to.
But I love it. But what led you that way though? Was there something you heard, a book you read, anything like
Well,
that?
no, like many, like I'm a product of the 60s and early 70s. I was born in 1958. And, I was conscious of, black life. I lived through the riots, like a lot of my contemporaries. When we went out during the time of the Detroit riot, it we did what everybody else was doing. We went into the boarded up closed drugstores. It was a drugstore down on the corner of Blaine and Woodward. It was a Cunningham at the time. It's a car wash now, but they had boarded it up. But of course, we went in there and folks were taking what they wanted, and we were doing the same. And there was a 6 o'clock a 6 o'clock curfew for young people like me, and then there was another curfew for the older people. But by 6 o'clock, I was on the porch like I was supposed to be.
Okay.
And the true beginning of my consciousness raising was during that period. I was my father was a member of Black Panthers.
Oh,
And
okay.
he talked to me, and my European name is his namesake, as his namesake is Roland. But and then us young people at that time were all becoming conscious in terms of how to deal with the police and everything like that.
I got you. I got you.
Between 7 and 9 years old,
I got you.
there was a police unit in the city of Detroit called Stress.
Right.
And we 7, 8, 9 years old. We stand on the corner talking, and um, four huge white men would come around in their stress cars. They're not even uniformed, and they would tell us to get off a corner in our own neighborhood. And
I got you.
you know,
Let me ask you this. Well, then how? And we're gonna get into the musical thing for sure. But how did you balance that and going to school and going to college and being of that mindset? Because
well,
because some people don't know how to turn it off and how to. You follow what I'm saying?
mm-hmm. Well, I, I have like I said, I have a strong family background in the sense to where even though my father was not strong or in my life, my mother was very strong. She introduced me to a lot of ways that and awarenesses that I should have as a young Black male. A lot of times I'm looking around and I don't see the same kind of attention and care given to some of our young children today as I was given. I was
I
really kind
got
of
you.
raised like not just by my mother, but the community that surrounded her.
I got
So
you.
there was, my uncle Norman. There were men and women. So whatever she was trying to instill in me, if she couldn't do it, she'd get my uncle or somebody else to talk to me and give me a better perspective,
I got you.
as a male. And then my experience in Pelham helped me to adjust in Michigan State was predominantly white college, and
Right.
there you find, black folks hung out with black folks up there, and white folks hung out with white folks mostly. We intermingled where
Right.
we would, you know, where it would be appropriate, but it it was still the kind of world at that time to where you had to be aware of where you were, who you were, and what you were doing,
I got you.
and how you were going to accomplish whatever goal you had.
How did you transition your career into music? Did you always play an instrument or something like that?
Well, I started playing music, like I said, as a young Detroiter. I started playing music when I was about 9, actually. One of my friends, his name is Clyde. Clyde played drums, and his brother, like in the hood, we didn't always have these regular names. His brother Squirrel, which to this day I don't know Squirrel's real name. That's what we call it. Squirrel played the guitar, and they were looking for somebody to play the bass. They had all the instruments, but they didn't have enough people. And I lived, across the alley from him. We don't have alleys like we used to in the old days. We
Right.
used to live across the alley, and me and Clyde were friends. So Clyde invited me over one day, and his brother Squirrel, sat down with me and said, "Can you do this on this instrument?" And so I tried it, and I did it, and next thing you know, I was playing bass guitar with Clyde and Squirrel, and that was my first, real introduction to music. The way I got into African drumming and dancing came much later through my interaction at Marcus Garvey as a parent in African Center School. I was introduced to this brother that we were using to do our African drumming and dancing at Marcus Garvey, named Sundiata Kaita. His real name was Roosevelt, I believe, when I first met him. But it ended up being Sundiata, who is an icon in the city of Detroit right now.
Okay.
He's an ancestor, but he became an icon through his music. But he was my first experience with the djembe drum, what you see behind me, if you can see it in the
Yeah, we see it.
and
Yeah.
and he, he his influence in the school and what he was doing and the way that he did it impressed me greatly. And during the time from I started music with Clyde, and eventually moved on to other groups playing bass guitar. When you're in a group, you get interested in everything. So I learned how to
Okay.
play trap drums a little bit while I was with the second group that I was with was called Sweet Honesty, and we did a lot of music and travel. We used to play
Okay.
gigs behind groups like Brainstorm, and
Oh, really? So,
uh,
so
a
let me
local.
interrupt you right there. So that drum there is what? These are called congos. Is that correctly?
No, a conga. There are two kinds of conga drums that you can identify. The one that you see folks play usually has a metal ring, calf or cow skin on it, and it has a processed body, which is undergirded by wood and then overcoated by some kind of linoleum type shiny material. That
Okay.
is the conga that you see people play on stage, and uh, in performances. The true Congolese drum actually, and usually those drums that I just described are in a stand or something.
Right.
But the original Congolese drum actually is tall enough for the person to stand up and play. It If they're gonna move around with it, they'll have it strapped around their waist.
Right.
And that drum is a lot different than the Congolese drums or the Congo that you say that you talk about. This drum here is actually called a djembe. It's spelled D J E djembe, but it's pronounced djembe because
Okay.
the D and the J is run together. So you say
Right.
djembe.
Okay.
And
Now that drum there, is there a different method to play each drum?
yeah, there are different ways to get the sounds out of it. See, first of all, the djembe drum is the most popular drum in the world. Every you can go to just about any nation, Asians, you can go just about anywhere. And if folks have heard this drum and got interested in this drum, then they've started to try to play it or own one for various reasons. But this is the most popular drum in the world. Um, the like I said, through King Sundiata, I had my first experience with learning how to play this drum. This drum is a very spiritual drum. Um, it has three spirits that's connected to it. It has the spirit of the animal that contributed to it, which is usually a goat or a calf. It has the spirit of the plant that is connected to it, what is usually a hardwood tree. And then it has the spirit of the humans that craft it, put it together, and the humans that eventually play it or own it. So there's a spirit connected to the drum. And usually, if you own it, your spirit is connected to it along with the spirits that constructed it.
When you play it, uh, okay, let me go to another question. Why do you play that drum? Why do you do this? Is there something for you? Is your message what? Yeah, that's that. Let me do that question.
I I play it for the same reason we just talked about. It's spiritual. It it invigorates my spirit. You know, I get something from it. You know, mentally, spiritually, and physically, based on what I've been taught um, by my teachers. Like I said, King Sundiata was my first teacher. I've had other teachers along the way, and when I was learning how to play the drum, I would play for different people, and they would be impressed. But then I had the chance to go to Africa and you know share the little knowledge that I I had with the Africans, and a lot of the Africans that end up being djembe folas, which djembe just means the drum, fola means player, djembe players. I would play some of the things that people had taught me and tell them what it is, and they would be like, "Oh, no, no, that's not the way it goes. That's not this. That's not that." So I got interested in, um, the differences that I was hearing based on my learning. And once I got a chance to travel to Africa and go to different places where the drum is displayed and played and made, I found out that is a very intricate instrument, and that each cultural group has ways that they play some of the same rhythms for the same reasons, which usually culminate in dance. But it's all connected to the culture. In other words,
Okay.
this drum is used to play to help people who are working and cultivating in the fields to keep working out there in that hot sun. uh, there are
Because of the
rhythms.
beat and rhythm and it relaxing, so on and so forth.
Right. It connects to the spirit, and it drives, the spirit to motivate the physical human to keep going. So there are rhythms that you play on this drum that are for ceremony.
Oh
There are
yeah,
rhythms.
okay.
There are rhythms that you play on this drum for inspiration. And when I say inspiration, like I say, um, there is a rhythm that there are a couple of rhythms that's going to be played this weekend at the D Town Farms
Right,
um, um, Harvest Festival
right.
that's connected to harvest. Um, one of them is called Casa or Casa, and it's a harvest rhythm. And this harvest rhythm is used to play. and motivate those who are working in the fields. And it might start while they're taking a break and getting some nourishment, but you know, while they're eating, after they finish eating, they're hearing the rhythm. Sometimes the ladies will come out and dance while
Yeah.
they're doing it and motivate them. And
Okay.
so the dance steps and the dances that you see connected with them is connected to the culture, not just to the cultural group, but to the work that they do or whatever it is that they're doing.
Let me ask you
Well,
this. So when you play, you're playing a specific rhythm. Yeah, I always thought it was free fall. I just thought
no,
that a beat came to your mind and you just started hitting. That's not the case.
no, that's not the case. In most cases, African drummers or djembe followers here in Detroit, especially the ones that have a history of study, because you can study this drum for a lifetime and you'll never become a master. You always hear the term, he's a master drummer, or he's a master this or master that. There's no such thing as a master drummer. And I take that lesson from my most recent and constant teacher, which is uh, Papa Dom Gay, who is from Senegal, and he's a griot, and he has immense knowledge about drums. But he said one of the things that folks do is if they learn a lot of rhythms and get real good and sound real good and everything like that, then people will dub them a master drummer. Most drummers don't dub themselves a master drummer unless they're just trying to make money or exploit people.
Do you mind hitting this and explaining what you just hit on the drum?
There's uh, based on my teachings from Papa Dom, he explains that there are 6 notes on this drum. And the reason that there are 6 notes is because you have 2 hands. One hand is stronger than the other. So you're going to get a stronger sound on one hand than you do on the other, or a more clear sound on one hand than you do on the other. He explains the notes as T, P, Ta, Pa, Tu, Pu. And to put it in the terms that most drummers know, is slap, slap, tone, tone, bass, bass. If Papa Dom was teaching you, it would be TP, Tapa, Tupu.
Okay.
TP, Tapa, Tupu.
Okay.
TP, Tapa, Tupu. Tone, tone, bass, bass. Bass
Right.
is in the middle of the drum,
Okay.
middle part of the drum, bass, bass. Slaps and tones, you bring your hands down a little bit. See where my hands are?
Yep.
On
Yep.
the edge of the drum.
Right. Right.
On the edge of the drum.
Right.
So you
Right.
get your slaps here,
Right.
you get your tones here,
Right.
bass, bass.
Okay. I got you. I got that part. Yep. I
So
understand.
those are 6 notes. But you only have 3 sounds: slap, tone, and bass. Slaps, tones, and bass. 3 sounds. And it's going to be different based on your hand and your strength. Like if you're right-handed, of course you're gonna have more power and strength and skill in your right hand. Same if you're left-handed, and less in the other side.
Okay.
And,
I got you.
and then there's a history of this drum. This drum originated in Mali. Um, as far as known is probably the 12th century is when folks were noticing that this drum was a central part of the cultural groups. And the cultural groups at that time, the main cultural groups that it came out of in Mali was the Mandingo. And the Mandingo people spread across West Africa. Um, and as they migrated to different places, they kept certain things intact, but the languages changed it a little bit here and there. And over the centuries, the languages changed based on migration. But a lot of the traditions stayed the same in terms of what they do and how they do it. So One of the things, or one of the most important things this is used for is ceremony. You know,
Okay.
the drum is used, the certain rhythms are played to um, warn of danger coming. So it was important that the sound and those who played hard and strong enough for a distant village to know what was going to happen coming down the road. And
Okay.
it could be weather, it could be stormy weather, it could be wildfire, it could be whatever.
Right. Now,
But
as
they
a
knew
person,
they knew but they knew based on what rhythm that they were hearing and what sound that they were hearing.
what you're saying is somebody like who got used to it and got told a harder beat might meant something danger or a faster beat or something like that.
Well, a certain rhythm, because
Oh, okay.
a certain rhythm means a certain thing.
Okay.
Uh, Back in the '60s, even though this person wasn't necessarily um, from that Malian tree, he was actually a Nigerian. He bought the djembe drum, became famous through him. Um, he went on a tour called the Drums of Fire, and the most famous rhythm that he bought, he called it funga. And he told the listeners that funga meant welcome, and there was a dance related to it, and a drum rhythm related to it. And every drum rhythm, especially traditional or even some most non-traditional rhythms, start based on a break or a call. So the call tells you what's going to happen. If it's if it's a if it's a normal call, or it's called a traditional call for anything, then it'll sound simple like black cat 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 cat. It doesn't tell you what the rhythm is. So the rhythm would have to be announced. So if you hear,
Okay.
that's a call. That means something's getting ready to happen.
Okay.
And it might be a dance, or it might be a song that they're gonna start after you hear that, da 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 da. Anga alafia ashe ashe. Baba Olatunji bought a tour to the United States, actually took it worldwide, and that was the main rhythm that and dance that he played. Um, he influenced African dance in the United States through the dance companies like Catherine Dunham
Yeah.
and the other dance companies and the dancers of those times, Primus and Dunham and others
Yes.
in that early time.
Let
So,
me ask. Go ahead.
so when you hear, you don't know what rhythm is going to be played, but that is the call that he used for fungus. And there's various ways that people play it, but it's just
Okay, I hear it.
the
I got you.
call. The call tells you when to start, stop, or change. So when you hear the call, you start the rhythm if you know what the rhythm is.
Okay.
When you hear the call while the rhythm is being played, it tells the dancers to change to the next step.
Okay. I got you. I
You
got
feel
you.
me?
Yep. Yep. I do.
And you'll hear that call throughout the rhythm until the dancers get to the last step. When they get to the last step and you hear the call the last time, everything will stop
I
after the
got you.
last next step.
Let, let,
Okay.
let me ask you this. How long you been doing this, playing
How long have I been playing
the conga?
djembe? I've been
Yeah,
playing
djembe.
djembe for the better part of 19 years.
If you don't mind asking, are you good at it? Is there, and the reason why I ask it, is there something else that you need to learn about that in terms of the different rhythms, how to do your fingers,
Yeah, you
any of those
always,
kind of things?
yeah. There's a lot for me to learn. This is just one drum. There are many drums in Africa that you can learn to play. Other drums that I play from the west coast of Africa are the Sabar drums. And the Sabar drums, just like this drum, the djembe drum is one that is connected to a family of drums because this drum is usually connected to the dunun drums, which are like the bass drums and the related sounds of the bass drum. So the part of the family that usually plays with the djembe drum is the dunun, the sangbang, and the kinkani. So um, there are many drums to learn to play
Okay,
and to learn how to do the sounds and techniques on them. And you can do this for a lifetime and you'll never become a master. That's why I chose Papa Dom as my teacher because he was the first teacher that told me there's no such thing as a master drummer. There's too many drums, there's too many rhythms, there's too many things that you can learn, and nobody is had in history since he's been living and since I've been living has mastered them all.
let me ask you just a couple more. I remember when I was a kid, I had that little small drum. You know, that little, it's two of them side by side. What are
Those are
those called?
called bongos.
Oh, bongos.
Those are
Okay,
called bongos. And people who don't know anything about drums, when they see this drum, they say, "Oh, you play the bongo."
right,
And in my mind, I'm like, "Well, they don't really know." But
right,
it's kind of irritating that for people with such a rich culture that we don't take time to learn, what is used for. The bongos is played in between the legs, held
right,
together.
right.
One drum and it's played mainly by the fingertips, even though this is played a lot by the fingertips too, in terms to get the best sound. That played mainly by fingertips and not the whole hand. And it has a distinct high pitch
Right,
bongos.
right.
They they can't get the lower sounds that djembe can, or songba, or even kinkani or dunun can get.
What,
There are other drums that come out of West Africa that a lot of people are not aware of. There's many families of drums, and when I say families, that's because they represent, you know, the the little child, the teenager, the father, and the mother. This particular drum is called the mother drum,
oh,
the
okay.
djembe drum, because it does all the talking in all the directions.
Oh, okay.
Just
Let
like
me,
your mom, go clean up your room.
right.
you
Let me
know,
ask you this. Now, are the difference in the drums some associated with the wood that they're made from and or the sheepskin that you play on? All that makes a difference? Or and then how large the face of the drum is?
it makes a difference when it comes to sound and volume. And what makes the other difference is the technique of the drummers. Some of the best drummers that you have excellent technique in terms of their hand placement and their finger placement on the drum and getting the maximum or correct sound out of the slap or the tone or the bass or the different types of crescendos that you might do on the drum, flams. Their sound techniques get better. You can you can play this drum for a lifetime and always learn something or get better at something.
Yeah, sure,
Uh,
sure. Do your fingers hurt by playing the drums?
uh, the intensity that I play with, you get to a point to where um, your fingers don't hurt as much when you
Okay.
play very intensely. Um, you get very rough and thick skin on your fingertips, or you develop calluses. And the only time you really have pain is if you're playing a long period of time and those calluses or that skin breaks, then you have pain. But most of the time, I don't have pain at all.
Um, as we kind of come to a close, what do you tell people about first, I got two questions. What are you? Are you a Congo player? I know I'm not using the right term. What are you in terms of this instrument as a musician?
I'm a djembe. I'm a djembe fola, which just means djembe player. It just means that I play the djembe. I'm a
Okay,
djembe fola. Um, djembe folas range from people who have a knowledge to know how to play the accompaniments to the rhythms that they hear when they hear break. So certain breaks tell you what to play. If you hear, I know what I'm getting ready to play. I know what I'm getting ready to play based on that call. It, it, uh, different calls. Different calls tell you what to play. The the general call that I showed you earlier, you don't know what you're gonna play unless they introduce it. But a djembe fola, if he hears a certain call,
right.
he knows what to play.
Okay,
So,
okay,
um, so what you would call somebody that plays a drum like mine, if they play it professionally and they know what they're doing when they hear a break or a call and they're supposed to start playing, it's djembe fola.
okay. And then a couple more. Do people write notes to the drum? It,
Yes. Mamadou Kaita has a note system and has tapes and booklets that folks can practice and learn how to play not just the djembe, but the songba, the kinkani, and the dumba.
okay. Can you read music?
Can I read music? I can read the drum music.
That's what I mean.
I never really formally learned how to do sheet music, but the drum music, the system that Mama D Kaita uh, put together in his booklets and teachings, yeah, it's easy to learn because it's easily explained. When you're playing a slap, when you're playing a tone, when you're playing bass, and what kind of rhythm that you're playing.
What is one maybe two more? What is the height of your career playing this? Have you played at a stadium somewhere? Let's brag on you. What's yeah.
Well, I mean, I've had the chance to play with some of the most world renowned drummers, including I call him my little brother. He calls me his big brother, but he's he was the lead drummer for the Ballet de Senegal,
Okay.
Senegal Ballet drum and dance troupe. Since he was 12 years old, he started at 12 years old. At 16 years old, he started um, traveling the world. He's played all over the world, taught and played all over the world. Germany, Japan, Italy, you name it, he's been there. South America, Mexico, he's been everywhere. And he's probably going to be our special guest when we do our Kwanzaa concert this year. What I developed was the young group that most of them started as Marcus Garvey Academy students and ended up being drummers and dancers. And that group is called Nano Japo, which means to keep together. Nano Japo, that name was given to us by that world-renowned drummer, Kissama Diatur Jabate, who calls me his big brother. And it was given to us. And we're part of that drum and dance family.
Oh,
I've taken two sets of young people over there. We stayed with Kissima in his compound, in his house, learned different rhythms, learned different songs, learned different dances. We've done two shows in Senegal, which to me was the pinnacle to be an African American and go over to Africa and
right,
perform for Africans, and they
right,
stand up and they throw the hair off and do everything.
right.
That was, to me, that was the pinnacle or the biggest thing. I could play in Chief Stadium and it wouldn't be as big as what happened over there.
I believe it. What's the website for your group? How do people find you and where you might be performing?
Well, a lot of our artists are on Instagram as individual artists, but I only have one platform for us. That's Nano Japo on Facebook. They can
Spell that.
join our page.
Spell it.
Nano is Nanou. Japo is DJIAPO
Okay.
on Facebook.
Okay.
They can see all of our pictures. They can, they'll see me doing a little instruction video, all of that.
Okay. I asked this of all the guests. Is there a question that I have not asked you? Something you want to share? Uh, anything like that?
Well, I mean, you're very thorough, and I like the way that you think through, what you're hearing and come up with the questions. But what I like folks to know is that we, as I'm an elder in the community. I'm 65 years old. I'll be 66 my next birthday. One of the reasons I love drumming is because it keeps me young, but it also keeps me connected to my younger community. And as elders, I think we have a duty, for ourselves as elders to figure out a way to enculturate and enlighten our young people about how it is that we need to help each other out and be of help to each other and
I
not
love
of hindrance and not combating each other,
it. Right.
but pulling each other together, identifying that we're the same people, we have the same problem, so we should all be working on the same solution.
I love it. Everybody, I'm Anthony Brogdon, like I said, and I forgot to say, but I said eventually, and here I'm saying it again, that on Strong Inspirations, hit the subscribe button. It's free. This lets me know you like me. Hit the love button. Oops, there is none. So you got to hit the like button on this video. You see how raw we are? My man is in his home where he's doing this for you all to understand this. And despite how we might not have been able to hear the content, you can feel it. And we're going to be able to put that in some other way. But go to his website, and all that is there. But he came out of not an African-based background per se, but of an African-American Black culture, inner city kid, youth background who got an education. Michigan State is no joke. You got to qualify to get in that school and then finish that school. And then he turned all that knowledge into how he found his way to enlighten, as he said in the closing, the community at large. And that's a beautiful thing. So go to his website. All that will be in the description. Go to my website, businessintheblack.net. Get you this books. Follow me. Come on my show on Mondays at 7 o'clock. The Zoom link is on the website. And to you, my brother, I say this and I mean this with all sincerity. I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind. I love who you become. I'm always excited when I run into you. When you show up, man, I feel a presence.
I
When you
appreciate
came to that event, I was like, man, I'm on point. I don't care if nobody else showed. My man is taking time out to come here. I feel that. So thank you for coming on the show, everybody. And with that, I'll say bye-bye. We out. Peace.
Peace and thank you.
Thank you.